I'm moving a player. I'm showing how to set picks, leading to claims of assault, claiming to inappropriate touching. Dealing with girls' sports now, I get a lot of cases where coaches are accused of looking at a player incorrectly, and staring at their body parts.
Hey, Coaches Call listeners, this is Libby Pacheco, COO of the THSCA Education Foundation. We want to thank those of you who showed up to coaching school this past summer. With 18,706 in attendance, we demolished the previous attendance record. Now, we need your help spreading the word of the advantages of being a THSCA member. Coaches have until October 15th to take advantage of the early bird membership fee of $70. Talk to a coach on your campus who might not know about THSCA and let them know about the many benefits we offer our members. We hope you have a great start to the school year. Good luck and stay safe.
Did you know that you can use podcasting to not only share the great news about your athletes and your programs, but as a fundraiser for your booster club? Yes, Lone Star Gridiron produced the 5th podcast in history and has been doing it nearly 20 years. We are expanding now to do shows outside of football. So whatever your sport, reach out to us at 713-269-4620. And we'll discuss how you can use this amazing tool to supercharge your program. And the best part, we do all the heavy lifting. Text your name and school to 713-269-4620. All right, everybody join me in welcoming Tiger Hayner to the show. Tiger is the attorney that represents the membership of the Texas High School Coaches Association. So, Tiger, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Chris. It's great to be here today.
So, if you could, give us the 30,000-foot view of what it is you do as it relates to the membership.
Great. What I do is anytime a coach finds themselves in some kind of controversy or conflict regarding their job, I am the attorney that the association and the insurance company through it will refer people to. So I'll be dealing with anything as simple as UIL rule interpretations to something accused of, assaulting a student athlete or someone that's facing the loss of their job. And so it really is a job that I'm dealing with political influences. I'm dealing with legal issues. I will represent the coach dealing with his school district, defending against parent grievances perhaps, dealing with TEA or the UIL or even CPS if it comes down to it.
Nice. And so tell me, I guess, some of the most common mistakes and misconduct that you do run into.
Sure. I think there's a couple things. One of them is, I think there is a kind of a historic thought process that the use of profanity in the practice setting is acceptable. Hells and dams or those kinds of words. Kind of in the old school coaching world, those things were common. Well, times have changed. They're not. What I tell my clients is those kind of words may be okay until you start losing. And so, I work with those types of things. A common one is also in today's world, touching students. Coaches are in a situation where they have to move players, teach them technique. It's more of a hands-on job, but being hands-on in today's world, let's be honest, kids don't like to be touched. It is just kind of an evolution that I think we see. And so dealing with the fallout of that, it's really hard. You're a linebacker coach and you're trying to position a player over or teach them, and they get upset you touch them. It's a precarious situation. And then the last thing I deal with has been just a great deal of dealing with parents who become more difficult. I hear the joke all the time about helicopter parents. And my response to that is no, we now deal with what I call lawnmower parents, that parents are literally right on top of their children. They don't expect them to ever experience failure or emotional struggle. And when children do, parents are much more inclined to get directly involved, and in many cases, overly involved. And so those are the three biggest things that I think I deal with.
Okay, and so from somebody from my generation, I played in the 80s, and I won't name names, but I had a coach who chewed tobacco. He would grab your face mask, he'd get right up to you, and he would let you have it. And you would be spackled by tobacco spittle within minutes. And something like that is, I assume now, something that just wouldn't pass, right?
It's certainly not. So, there is the phrase old school coach.
Yes.
And when I started working with coaches 30 years ago, the old school coach was still kind of the norm, right? Mm-hmm. Certainly it's not anymore. I rarely ever see that, like you, I thought my face mask was a handle for my coach to get my attention. And, I thought my first name was Damn It, because it was always Damn It Hanner. And that is certainly not the way it is now. I think probably the mantra that I try to teach my clients is kids now believe they don't care what you know until they know how much you care. Right. And it is much more of that. And so kids today, back in the day, sports, especially football, was very militaristic. Coach said jump and you said how high. Today, now kids want to know why am I doing it? And coaches have had to adjust. Now they have to explain to a player why we're doing, why I'm asking you. And that certainly is not the way it was, 30 years ago.
And so what portion of your job is training or teaching coaches about the current state of the world versus defending them when a parent or somebody has brought a case?
It is a huge part of it. I do a lot of work. I speak at conferences, at the coaching schools, and try to be proactive. What I think for the biggest danger area is for a new coach. That most people go into coaching, let's be honest, you don't typically do it for the money. You do it largely, I think, because you had a coach or a teacher that made a difference in your life, and you want to be that person for someone else. And so getting new coaches through the first 2 or 3 years to where they realize this is not my friend, that I'm here to do a job, that because I'm a coach, everybody is watching what I do, what I say, and how I behave. And it takes a little while, a couple of years experience to figure that out. So if you can navigate that landmine of the first few years, typically coaches will get into a space where they kind of understand their role or understand their lane. But unfortunately, coaches, even when coaches are trying to do the right thing, they find themselves in trouble. It is coaching, teaching is a very subjective job. The way you handle things, the way you word things can be subject to, I don't think that's the way you should have done it. And so it's always going to be that. It's not black and white. Coaching, teaching, there's a lot of gray to it. And it's that gray area that now, especially when, like I said, parents are less, tolerant of their child not getting what they want, not getting to play the position they want, not getting as many catches as they want. So that gray area, you have to learn, how do I deal with it? And I encourage coaches a lot. Talk to people, your mentors, talk to, if you have an idea, talk to someone, say, hey, here's what I'm thinking, what do you think? Get a second opinion, take a step back. A lot of times kind of getting that perspective from other people. And if you do, call me, I'll say, hey, I wouldn't do it that way, I might try that. But trying to, before you just go and do something or implement a plan, let other people think about it. Get feedback before you act.
Definitely. And you know, when you talk about assault or verbal abuse, that's easy to get your head around. That's easy to understand. But what are maybe some other things that coaches may not think about as they go through their school year that could come up?
Well, what a lot of coaches don't understand is their behavior outside of the practice field or the classroom can also get them in serious trouble. I think many of the cases you read about in the media involve coaches' behaviors not at school, going to the local bar and having too many drinks, being involved in accidents, sexually harassing a waitress at a restaurant, those types of things. Your behavior as a coach is 24/7. You know, it's frustrating, I think, that we do not pay our teachers and coaches enough. But their behaviors, even when they're not under contract, are subject to scrutiny and can result in them losing their jobs, can result in them losing their certification. And so trying to get them to understand that, if we want to post a picture of us out on a boat drinking a beer on the weekend, we can do that. Coaches cannot, because there are people constantly scrutinizing what they do, their social media pages, all those things, and they won't hesitate to use those things or complain about those things. And so you have to be always on guard. I teach people to be paranoid. And, I kind of laugh about it. I said, is the advice I'm giving you sound paranoid? I said, yes, it does. And guess what? It is. But you need to be paranoid.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And now we get the stuff about the parents and the kids having issues, but what are some things that come up as it relates to perhaps the UIL or the district or their employers? What are some of those things?
Well, some of the things now, the biggest UIL things, obviously the hugest things are the recruiting issues. It has become, there are areas of Texas that kind of turn a blind eye to recruiting. It's kind of like, well, everybody else does it, right? And the reality is, well, everyone else may, but if you get caught, the sanctions are serious. You're going to lose your job. The district, the school is going to end up facing sanctions. We've had more recruiting controversies in the last few years than I think we probably had in the first 20 years I was doing this. That's a big one. The other thing that I really see a lot of, or not a lot of, but I see more, is your behavior at games, your behavior with officials. We have had some high-profile instances where student-athletes attacked officials, where officials were mistreated. And so the UIL is going to be extremely protective of officials. And so, going to the officials' locker room after the game because you want to talk about something is not a very smart idea. And so athletics is a game of passion. Coaches, sometimes you've got to rein in that passion and understand screaming, yelling at the officials can have serious consequences and result in UIL sanctions. Definitely.
And talk about what coaches should know to protect themselves, in terms of reducing their liability.
The biggest thing, what I start many of my lectures when I teach, is assume everything you say, everything you do is going to be on the local news, or it's going to be read or shown to your school board. Either one. If you're okay with what you're saying and what you're doing being on the television, with it being reported to the school board, that's a pretty good guideline because, in today's world, everyone is holding a camera. So I think it is a realistic viewpoint that everything you say and everything you do could certainly result in that. So if you keep that in the back of your mind, I'm not going to say anything or do anything that I'm afraid for the world to see, that will be posted on Instagram, that usually will keep you out of trouble.
Yeah. Yeah, and what about liability insurance? If you could speak to that.
Absolutely. Maybe not every day, but most days. I get a call from someone that is facing losing their job, that is under investigation, and they'll tell me, "Oh, I'm not a member of a group, or I don't have any legal insurance. I never thought I would need it." Right? Mm-hmm. Problem is, in today's world, you need it more than ever, and if you do need it, it's very expensive. Lawyers are $250 and more an hour, and it's not like teachers and coaches make a lot of money. And so it can be almost cost prohibitive to be able to hire a lawyer out of your own pocket. And so the insurance policy the High School Coach Association provides is such a fantastic program. It is a nominal amount of money. I think we're now at like $50 a year or something in that range. So for that nominal amount, you can have an insurance policy that not only pays for a lawyer like me to defend you, to advise you, but it also provides an extra level of liability coverage. The policy has an umbrella policy so that if you get sued performing your duties as an educator, you actually have a liability policy to protect you there. I don't think people get sued too often. It does happen, absolutely. Definitely, like in an injury situation, children get hurt or something. But the bigger one where they're trying to non-renew your contract or terminate you in the middle of a contract, or you have somebody posting negative things about you on social media. How do I deal with that? Parent files a grievance on you. How do I deal with that? Well, with the insurance policy that the Coach Association provides, you have a lawyer that's paid for all of that. And it's just invaluable. That someone for free can pick up the phone, call me, and with one phone call, I can literally be in their hometown the next day taking care of them. And that's how it works.
Got it. And then as far as, it's easy to see the need in a sport like football where traditionally it's more aggressive. But are there some things that come up related to other sports maybe that we don't think about?
Absolutely. I think all sports they're high speed, they're high impact, whether it's basketball or baseball. Now we have so many sports where they have select teams, baseball, volleyball, that parents have invested a lot of money in their kids to play in these select leagues and private lessons and all these things. And I think they feel like they have, because of the money they've spent, their son or daughter has the right to be a starter, to be on the varsity. And when those things don't happen, it creates a lot of backlash. And so that's an area that we deal with. Also, injuries. I talked earlier about, coaching being hands-on. In basketball, I'm moving a player. I'm showing how to set picks, leading to claims of assault, claiming to inappropriate touching, dealing with girls sports now. I get a lot of cases where coaches are accused of looking at a player incorrectly, at staring at body parts, at whatever, things that are very subjective, things that really can put you at risk. You get accused that, a coach is accused, well, he was staring at my rear end. Well, I don't know how defending those kinds of claims can be very difficult. And it is the world we live in. It's just those kinds of things, no matter what sport you're coaching.
Yeah, and so talk about defending them in various things. What is the trend as it goes to, are you able to defend them effectively, or is it like these are really tough and most of the time you lose those?
No, I think, every case is fact specific, but we have a great deal of success defending people. A school district, whenever there's an accusation or an allegation leveled, school districts are typically going to put that employee on paid administrative leave while they conduct an investigation. And so what my office does is we notify the district that we're representing the employee. We work with the district during the course of that investigation and try to get the employee cleared during the course of the investigation. I think we're very successful in doing that. The other thing, is the Texas Education Agency has passed a rule that if a school district has any evidence of misconduct, then that must be reported to TEA for an investigation. And so we're now doing more and more TEA investigations than we've ever done. And so we're quite successful dealing with those things. Also, dealing with child protective service investigations or police investigations. If you're accused of assault or abuse or neglect, I've had a lot of, where kids will get hurt at practice and those accusations of neglect. The coach was not monitoring properly. With the proliferation of rhabdomyolysis in recent years,
right,
more and more coaches are being accused of negligent supervision when it comes to rhabdo. And so we deal with CPS and the police in those investigations as well. And all of it is about trying to get involved as early as possible to work with the employees so that from day one, we are making sure the decisions they make, the information we're getting to the district is everything we can do to get them cleared and get them back to work. I tell my clients I have two jobs, either keep you employed or keep you employable. If the situation arises at one school district, it may be that you can't go back to work there, or, really it's probably not in your best interest to go back to work there in some cases. So if that's the case, my fallback is, I'm going to make sure you can move on with your career. I don't want you taking a step back. I want you to be able to move to another district, take care of your family, continue in your career, and hopefully continue to progress professionally.
Excellent. And have you run into anything related to gender identity issues and maybe men playing in girls' sports, et cetera?
I really haven't. So the UIL, their current rule is that you must compete with athletes that are your birth gender. That is the rule in place right now. And, it has created some difficulties because we all know about the situation with the wrestler here in Texas that was transgendered female to male, and because of the rule that's in place with the UIL, that student athlete was required to wrestle female wrestlers, and it created a huge problem. Those issues are extremely rare. I think that that transgender students, there's a whole lot of time dedicated to talking about it, and the reality is it's just not much of a problem whether I'm dealing with athletics or I'm dealing in the academic realm. My experience has always been that if you sit down with a transgender student athlete and their families, and you get to the heart of what does moving forward dealing with school, what does it look like? What can we do for you? I've never had one case where I could not sit down with the student or the student athlete and we could figure out a plan, a way forward that treated them with respect and dignity and allowed them, to successfully go to school and successfully be involved in their schools. I know there's a huge outcry out there that we shouldn't allow transgender students to participate in athletics. However, athletics is a huge part of the school experience. It is also a huge part of fitting in. It is a huge part of growing as a person and character building. And I really hope we don't get to a point where we deny transgender students those opportunities, because we're already talking about students that in many cases feel ostracized, that have a large part of the public that are against them, and to now remove them from athletics. It's just another stigma we're putting on students that are already going through a very difficult path in life. And so, but I do think, it has never been a problem that we couldn't fix. When I work with school districts, when I work with coaches, it is always something we've been able to move forward through and make it a win-win for everyone.
Excellent. And is there anything, question I should have asked that you'd like to bring up?
I think that, the biggest thing now is obviously we are just on the eve of another school year. I think that safety is the biggest thing that I would remind coaches of. Make sure to take breaks. Make sure to monitor the weather and the heat. Make sure that you're providing plenty of water and water breaks to student athletes at this time, because students suffering serious health issues, rhabdomyolysis, as I mentioned before, is a huge risk. And so really having a plan in place to make sure your student athletes stay safe as we get into the school year. Because in Texas, unfortunately, we're now starting school in early August, practice in early August, and 100-degree days are the norms. And even if you're working out inside, a lot of times it's incredibly hot, it's humid, and taking the time to watch your student athletes and make sure that they're not struggling, making sure that if anybody doesn't look like they're feeling right, get them medical help. Be paranoid. It is the mantra I preach. Be paranoid. And when it comes to student athlete safety, job one, make sure they're safe.
Excellent. And Tiger Hanner, I want to thank you so much for sitting down, sharing some of your insight, your wisdom, and just great advice.
Well, thank you, Chris. I appreciate it. And, I am blessed to work with the coaches of the state. When I was in high school, I had a coach named Terry Cron, and he was my high school coach, and his wife, Leslie, was my fourth grade teacher, and they left an indelible impression on me as a person, and they're really the reason I do what I do. To give back those two individuals, the Crons, truly changed my life. And being able to work with the coaches of the state has allowed me in some way to give back for everything they did for me.
Love it. Thank you.
Thank you. You have a great day, Chris.
The interviews in this show are brought to you by the Texas High School Coaches Association. THSCA provides to its more than 26,000 members access to the people, events, tools, and resources to help them thrive in the profession, become trusted leaders in their communities, and live balanced and successful lives. The work and sacrifice coaches do every day is vital to the development and success of student athletes. The THSCA supports these efforts. We fight for every coach, provide them with the connections and resources to improve their lives, and help all student athletes throughout the state enjoy lasting success. The mission statement is simply this: to help and serve Texas high school coaches as they work to help and serve student athletes. Helping coaches help kids. For more information on the THSCA, visit www.thsca.com. Hey, of course, I want to thank our guest, but I also want to thank you. I want to thank you for giving me what I consider the most valuable thing you can give, your time and your attention. And I know you don't do it to hear me. You hear it for the great messages provided by the THSCA. And hey, if you'd like to associate your company with the THSCA and the Coaches Call podcast, limited sponsorship opportunities are available. You can reach out to me, Chris Daly, 713-269-4620, or head over to my website, freshmediaworks.com. Once again, thank you so much for supporting Texas high school coaches. Please share this show out to everybody you can so that we can help share these important messages. Thanks again, and we'll catch you next time on The Coach's Call.